Wow, that was crazy. Let's see if it's working finally. Whew. Better late than never, I guess they say. I think we are finally broadcasting. We had a little bit of a glitch there. I had to reboot the whole system, and that takes a long time with this thing, and I had to reset a whole bunch of stuff. So I apologize for being a couple minutes late, but I guess they say better late than never. And so, okay, Louis Brennan, how you doing? Jack, how you doing? Backwoods TV, how you doing? Chris Stepp, Email Max, Cumberland Valley Outdoors, how's everybody doing? I apologize again for those of you who are just kicking on now. I had a glitch with the broadcasting unit here, and I had to completely reboot it. So that takes like 5 minutes to do. So that's why I'm a couple minutes late getting started. I apologize. I also wanted to say thanks to Chris. What was your last name, Chris? Bannister. I got an email from him on Monday. He also emailed Bowtech to thank Bowtech for supporting me. And Chris, thank you so much for doing that. That was very nice. I also want to give a thanks to Bob Mergen from New York. He did a project with some paracord on his tree stand, and he made some keychains with the excess stuff and sent me one. So there's some paracord for my keychain. Thank you so much, Bob. Very nice. So I don't want to waste a whole lot of time, being that I'm a few minutes late. Give a couple more hellos here. Dennis G, John Klopp, how's everybody doing? Josh, how you doing? Vital Point, howdy. Travis, how you doing? So thanks everybody for tuning in. Also, thank you to those of you who sign up for the notifications, whether it's on my Sean's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. You know, you can go on there. You can get click the little bell icon to get notified when I do an upload. But I've been posting these live stream things at least a few days in advance, and there's a little thing that you can click on to say notify me when Sean goes live. So thanks for doing that, and those of you who are on that text message thread through Bowtech who texted what is it, watch to 313131, and you get those notices through that. Thank you to those of you who tune in from there. So okay, tonight there's sort of a little bit of a theme going on for tonight. I've got a couple emails over the past week, more or less asking me how do I balance hunting with my family life, or how, if you don't have much time, how do you deal with scouting during the season? You know, someone didn't have time because of work to get out scouting before the season. So that's all kind of a similar theme, integrating your hunting in your busy life or your family life. And so that's kind of the topic for tonight. But before we get into that, I want to do a live update and drawing for this map reading challenge. So I've been getting tons and tons and tons of requests on information on how to vote and things like that. So right now the voting is going to happen when we get that whole web page thing all set up. It's still in the production process. It's not finished yet. When it is finished, I'll just make a live announcement, or not necessarily live, but I will make an announcement on my channel that, hey, voting is now open. You know, I would expect it to be in the not too distant future, but I have absolutely no idea. It seems like I'm not sure. Like, I thought maybe last week we were going to have it up and running, but you know how stuff can be. Sometimes you got to, get through glitches or whatever. So that's still being worked on in the background. However, the important part of the videos coming out, the individual scout trips, my forecast is to begin them on Monday of next week. Once they begin, I plan to air one every day for 12 straight days because there's 12 guys. So right now I'm going to change my camera angle over to the board here because if you watch the recent upload I had with the archery contest I did with these guys, this is the list of guys in order who hit the closest to the bullseye. I have the actual target here that everyone shot at. Here's John Klopp, Jerry Knoyer here, Eric Arquette, Andrew Penzie, and Dan Weaver. They were the closest. Aaron Jones is up here. So those 6 guys hit the target, or hit the paper at least. And so from the bullseye on out, this is the order that the scout trip videos are going to air. But we have 6 other guys who did not, either weren't there for various reasons, like Joe Mainville and Silvio. They could not be there, so they didn't even have a chance to shoot. Not my fault, and maybe partly not theirs either. And so I still want them, obviously, to be in this. So what we're doing for them and the guys that just flat out missed is I have their names nice and big on this paper right here so that you can see it. I have a nice box. I'm going to fold these, crumple them a little bit, put them in this box, and we're going to draw them out. We'll say a little prayer. Hey, remember in the Acts of the Apostles after they needed to find a replacement for, this is Sylvia, by the way. And the reason I'm crumpling them is so they don't stick together and it's easier to pull them out of the box. Steve Baum. What's up, Steve? Hope you're watching. David McVeigh. If I can get these two. See, they're stuck. That's why I got to crumple them a little bit. And then Corey Cowan. Don't worry, Lewis, you're next. Lewis Brennan. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like the Acts of the Apostles, say a prayer and draw, or they casted lots to find out who would be the replacement for Judas. But let's see here. The person who will come up as number 7 in this is Steve Baum. Let me write a 7 on here. I'm going to keep track that way. And then I'll... so Steve is going to... His scout trip video will be number 7. Next is Silvio. Silvio's number 8. And... let's see, Lewis. Lewis is number 9. I'm sure you're cheering right now, Lewis. And who is next? Joe Mainville, number 10. And who is number 11? David. Oh, Corey, I'm sorry, brother. That puts you at number 12. So, yeah, let's pull it out and make it official. My buddy Corey, number 12. So the 12th, it'd be like the 12 days of Christmas. On the 12th day of Christmas, you'll get Corey Cowan. So that is the order, folks, that the scout trip videos are going to air. I'm sure people are commenting like crazy. I know Lewis and Andrew are on there. They're probably saying whatever. But that brings me to an important point. Those of you who are new to following the live shows, I am a one-man show, and this is being broadcast all over the place. You know, Bowtech has websites and Facebook pages and all kinds of stuff, Excalibur, Diamond. It's going all over those places. If you're tuning in from one of those locations, I usually turn it over to question and answer at the end, or when I'm finishing up. And if you have a question, go to my Sean's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel, because that's the only one I'm monitoring. Like I said, I'm by myself. I'm not able to monitor all of these feeds. So I'm going to be looking there for questions. And if you have a question, put a question mark at the end, or even a couple. You know, make it so I can see that question real easily, because, you know, being that it's just me and there's all kinds of stuff popping up in the feed, it's hard to find some of the questions sometimes. So give me some question marks at the end. That'll help me indicate, okay, here's a question, and I can read it out and try to answer it. I try to get to them as many as I can. Sometimes because there's so many things popping up, I miss one. So if I've gone past your question in the feed and I'm reading one below yours, ask it again, or save the questions till the end. So when I say, hey, I'm ready for questions, that's when I want you to put them up. Because if you write a question right now in the feed, these people are having conversations while I'm talking, and so it'll get buried, it'll get lost. So there you have it. So when I say we're ready for questions, make sure you start firing away with the questions. Let me just see here. Yes, okay. Covered the things I wanted to. Now let's get into the two main topics, and you can rest assured I already have that copied somewhere else. So I have the lineup of these guys. Now, the two main topics I wanted to talk about tonight. Oh, and this is a super important thing. My daughter started dance lessons at 6 o'clock on Wednesdays, and as you know, that's when I have this live show. And it's been very strenuous on us. My wife. By the way, those of you who followed the whole thing, my wife had a bout with the kidney stone issue right before I flew out for that Jewelry Outdoors thing that I did like back in August. And the earliest they could get her in for the procedure to basically remove it because it's not passing on its own, is tomorrow morning. So keep us all in your prayers there. That'll be tomorrow morning. But also she has a bad back, ruptured disc in her back. And it's really tough for her to handle all 4 of our kids, to take them to the dance thing. And so I emailed my contact from Bowtech today, yesterday, I think. And so we kind of worked it out. I'm going to move the live show to Tuesdays. Tuesdays at 7 is going to be the new time starting next week. So mark that in your calendar if you've been following these live shows. I'm moving it to Tuesdays at 7 because of this issue, and that's part of our theme tonight, is how do you handle, family life and hunting and getting it all to work out kind of smoothly. So mark your calendars from now on, Tuesdays at 7, at least for right now. And I'm actually not even sure, like when I was originally asked to do this live show, it was to help people get ready for hunting season. That's what they said to me. And actually hunting for us, most of me, a lot of my viewers, it's like this weekend is hunting season starts. So I'm still waiting to hear back from them. Like, what's the big picture here? What do they want from me? And it's moving forward. So when I find out what that is, I'll let you know. But as of right now, I'm going to plan to be airing some episodes on Tuesdays at 7 moving forward. And let's start talking about our 2 main things for today. So one is, how do I balance family life and hunting because there's a lot of people out there who have new families, they have children now. And one thing you need to realize, a lot of you, if you now have kids and didn't before, or whatever case is, yes, you're going to have less hunting time, most likely, and it's because you have obligations. And so let's talk about how to deal with that. And to start off, I'm going to draw a guy here. This guy has had a little too much cake and maybe beer in the off season, so he's ready for hunting season though. He's got his bow right here. That's a broadhead, and so here's our guy. And one of the things I want to just point out for you to keep in mind to help you keep all of this balanced is there's really 2 major components to us in a simple sense that motivates our decisions. So down here we got our heart, and that's like feelings. So we've got feelings, and up here we have our thoughts. So, when we go through life, a lot of the decisions we make are based on, how it makes us feel. That's the reality for a lot of us. Now, hunting is something that a lot of us are extremely passionate about. It gives us an opportunity to feel connected to what God has created, and I think we all have a yearning for that in a certain sense. But to add to that, when you are hunting, those of you who have been out there with a bow or a gun in your hand, and an animal appears, let's say you're hunting deer, and a deer appears, well, you have what a lot of people call as buck fever, which is an adrenaline rush, which we don't normally have that experience on a daily basis in other areas of our lives. Which means this is something very powerful and influential in our lives. So we're connecting with nature, which is something I think we all yearn for. We're having this profound experience that's really impacting us here. And so the things that really positively or emotionally impact us in a strong way that we like or would like more of, it can really influence our thoughts. So let's just draw a little arrow. Now what can happen here, now you know me, I'm married, been married for 10 years, and 10 and a half almost. So hopefully she's happy. And now I've got 4 little kids. I'm such a good artist. I know you're loving this. So this is what I've got here. And I have to realize that really my priority in life is to care about them. That's really what I am called to do. And one of the dangers that we have as hunters is we can let this hunting motivate us so much that we can at times put hunting before our families or make a divider line between us and our families because of it. So I'm pointing that out so that you can kind of keep an eye on yourself to make sure you're not like causing a problem here because you're letting a lot of this influence your decisions up here. So we can do that. We can also like not listen to our wives when they're talking to us because we're so busy thinking about what our next hunting strategy is going to be. And or our kids may need us for something and we may neglect them again because we're trying to figure out how to get to the tree stand. So my point in just saying is for you to keep a balance, first of all, recognize this dynamic of how things can motivate your thoughts. So if your hunting is motivating your thoughts a lot, just say, all right, you know what? I need to put the pause button on here so that I can keep a balanced life here. I need to give some attention to my family. And I have like, you know, when I'm during hunting season, when I'm home with my family, I just do my best to hit the off switch on hunting, and I make a choice to block it out. I know I want to think about it and or even obsess over the next tree stand location or whatever it is, but it's like, no, you know what? I have to do a good job at what I'm doing here. And if this is distracting me over here, I'm not going to do a good job. I'm going to be distracted here. And so my encouragement to you, if you're trying to find a balance, is learn how to hit the off switch to the best of your ability. Hey, that passion and desire is going to be there when you turn the switch back on. You don't have to worry about that. So just do your best here, and then everyone's going to be happier in the big picture. And I think when our spouses and our families see us making a real diligent effort when we're with them, you know, doing something with them, I just you know, abandon yourself to the moment. Totally invest yourself in the, let's say you're going out, you know, hunting season's off, so the fall, and you have like a lot of these October fests and fall fests and like pumpkins and this, that, and the other thing, hay rides. Go for it. You know, go, just plan a day with the family and just totally abandon yourself to it. Have a great time. And that makes them happy, you know. And then I know for me, when I've done a good job there, my wife is like, hey, you know, get out there, get hunting. I know that's important to you. And boom, then I get to totally lock in on that. So there's a good balance there. But in order to have the balance, you need to sometimes turn the switch off to the hunting in order to, you know, do it. And the other thing too is if you have been doing a little too much over here with the hunting, and you would stay attentive to your family. If you can tell that they're struggling and getting restless or whatever, it might be time to call off and, you know, I was really looking forward to this hunt, but I'm just going to skip it. Let's just have a family day, whatever. So my encouragement to you is, in order to have a good life in general, is, you know, and keep that balance, is learn how to recognize when your hunting is really influencing your thoughts and say, okay, I got to turn this off for a little bit because this is important over here. And there's people out there who are single, still in school, things like that. And maybe some of this isn't as big of an issue for you right now, but keep it in mind if you do end up married someday or have a family, or if you see your schoolwork is starting to go down because of hunting season, you might need to use the off switch to get your homework done or get your schoolwork done or whatever. You don't want to, you know, do poorly because of hunting, you know what I mean? Because, hey, let's face it, hunting is an extremely difficult industry to get into. It's hard to get a TV show. It's hard to be successful on the internet. I mean, you look on YouTube and it is utterly saturated. Everybody under the sun wants to have a YouTube hunting and fishing and outdoor YouTube channel anymore. And it's extremely hard to get it to go anywhere. And there's a lot of you right now who are watching and are like, yeah, it is. Because, you know, how do I get the views? It's hard, you know, and it's getting harder and harder because there's so much saturation. So my point is, you know, a lot of us dream and wish and want to be professional hunters or to make a living out of this type of a thing, but very few of us actually will. And so we need to be realistic and be like, hey, I can't let this totally blow out my chances at other stuff. If I don't get the education I need to get the job, I need to have a living where I can still hunt, then I'm in trouble. So again, for those young people out there who are still in school and stuff, you got to learn how to hit the off switch a little bit and just, you know what, I got to focus here and get this done. So those are just some ideas to help you, you know, in that balancing. And that's the whole thing. In life, we can become very unbalanced if we let like our passions overdo our, you know, over influence our choices, because your feelings and your passions are unstable. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to this kind of thing, you need to have like, you need to let your thoughts and your choices be the governor, you know, to keep things level. And in order to keep things level, you got to say, okay, my passions are really influencing my thoughts here. I need to just chill them down a little bit. My passion's going to be there, but I need to say, hey, you know what? I can't think about that right now because I got other stuff to do. And I've got a friend, well, I'm not going to say any names, but a friend of mine said to me the other day that when it comes to this time of year, he has trouble getting his work done at work because he's thinking about the hunting, and that's this right here. So if you're following this, brother, maybe this will help you get a little more of your work done at work. All right, so that's just a couple thoughts. I had, like I said, some people reach out to me asking me how to keep a balance, and my hope is that that helps give you some ideas of, yeah, you know what, okay, I can see that. I can see how my passions are influencing me, things like that. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is, you know, if you don't have a lot of time, work schedule, whatever, I mean, the only time you can get off is in hunting season. You know, how do you scout? How do you get ready? And I forget the name of the guy who asked me that this past week, but this is for you. You know, this is to answer his question. So let's think of your hunting area. Now, a lot of people hunt private land, and a lot of times I don't even think about private land because I just don't hunt much private land. So for me, public land is fairly abundant in my area and some of the places where I hunt. So, you know, right out my back door is almost 13,000 acres of public hunting ground. I chose this house for that reason. So I've got 13,000 acres to play with right out the door here. And where I've gone, you know, in other states, thousands upon thousands of acres. So the first thing I would say, if you don't have much time to do much scouting preseason, or if you're just not having a successful season and you want to mix it up, try to just block off an area. Just say, you know what, there's going to be deer in most of these areas. It's not like the deer are completely not existent in 1 mile square blocks. It's just, you know what I mean? So if you have a giant forest, just take a section of it. You know, just take a square mile and let's picture first a place that you've hunted before. So if you've hunted this place in the past, obviously I think having experience at a place, it helps yield more success because you have some understanding of the layout of the land and what you've experienced there before. So let's say the parking area is here at this particular location. You've hunted here and you've maybe seen 1 or 2 deer. You've been over here and you've seen a scrape during the end of the season. And once you decided to go all the way to the other end and there was some good trails over there. So here's what I would suggest. Let's say you haven't scouted at all. Out of your experience, everybody who's watching right now, think of a place you can hunt that you've maybe hunted before but haven't been to in a while, if you can think of that. Maybe it's even someone's property that you hunted years ago or when you were a kid or whatever. Think of that property for a minute and practice this. So you have general ideas of where you saw some of the sign back then. Now think, where could I, out of all those places, have the best chance of harvesting a deer if I went there today and I haven't been there since last year or 10 years ago? Okay, I'm thinking of a spot. Boom, I've got a funnel in my mind. Where I grew up, my parents actually, hi Mom, Dad, they're watching right now. They've been watching all these episodes, thank you. But where they are, they still live in the house where they raised me. And down the road, I hunted this place. I could walk there, and the tree line follows the road, and on the other side, it goes down the hill to a cow pasture. So this was a couple 100 yards wide, and then it came down to a funnel point down here, real narrow patch of woods that crossed the stream and went up to the other side. That funnel point had good trails going through the stream. I think I would sit there if and I haven't been there in years, but because it's a funnel point and a place that would really, if the deer are going to move through there, as long as I got the wind in my favor, that gives me a good chance at a bow shot. So my first sit there, I would say, okay, I'm going to sit there because I think I would have a chance at a deer. Now, again, I haven't been there for years, but I know of a spot that was across a few fields where I used to always see scrapes and rubs. So what I would do is, let's say all you've got is a morning hunt. You can hunt from dawn to noon. And, come 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, you got to figure out how much time you have to do what I'm about to say. But let's say you have till noon, and it's going to take you 2 hours to still hunt from this stand to that stand to there and back to the parking area. Then at 10 o'clock, if you haven't had any success, get down and start still hunting. If you're seeing deer, stay in the stand. But if you're not, get down and still hunt your way over to here. Okay. Now let's say that in the process, you might come across some fresh rubs that you never came across before, or there might be an oak tree that you stumble across that you didn't kind of walk by there before. And there's a lot of deer sign under that tree. I carry a GPS. I also have my phone's right here. And the people of Onyx Maps, they just hooked me and the guys up from the Map Reading Challenge. There's also other apps you can use, but with like Onyx or my GPS, I can put a waypoint in and save it. Like if I come across that stuff right there, whoa, look at these rubs. I never was through this area before, and I'm surprised to see that. I'm going to check this out, And so that's how you do it. Like if you need to scout during the season, try to incorporate it into your hunting, like after a morning sit, and then loop around. Work your way to that spot. And let me interject this. So I'm doing the Map Reading Challenge, and that we've been talking about that, and you have a chance to win a Bowtech Range 6 and an XOP Air Read Hang-On Tree Stand, and so do the guys because of the Map Reading Challenge. But the Map Reading Challenge is looking at a map, picking waypoints, or picking spots and putting waypoints in, and then doing this. You go out and do a scouting trip specifically to those waypoints, and that's actually what I'm essentially telling you to do based on your experience at a hunting spot. And I'll talk a little bit more about the map part in a minute. But so what you do then is you go to the next spot where you've been before, where you maybe encountered some deer sign, and then you work your way back to the parking area. Now let's say you had a great bit of sign and stuff here. Mark that in on Onyx or your GPS or whatever it is. And keep getting, like my children, my son is in kindergarten now, and they have this automated phone call that they send out on Wednesday nights. And it just, every one of these I've been getting that automated call, and I asked them to take me off, and they're like, we can't. So now, hopefully now that I'll be moving to Tuesdays, I won't be interrupted by that. That's what just happened right there. But anyway, you put the waypoints in, you can go home, and when you have a spare minute, like a lot of people watch TV at night. I study maps or actually edit videos at night. I don't have time really to watch TV. But if you do, if it's a recreation time, everyone's just watching TV, you're not really talking, interacting. Hey, break out the phone, the GPS, whatever, and take a look at those waypoints and look at the terrain too, if there is any terrain, and say, hey, why are the deer here? Was it because of the terrain? Was it because of a food source, travel corridor? What is it? And that's going to help you actually grow as a hunter as well. But now, let's say that's out of everything you looked at, that was the hottest spot. How do you get to that hot spot without spooking the deer? What are the prevailing wind directions? Let's say this is the prevailing wind direction here. Let's say it comes from the west. So the wind's blowing that way. You don't want to walk into the stand like this because your scent's getting blown this way. Is there a way for you to access from over here and sneak into that stand? And that's how you get to be successful with minimal scouting preseason or even during the season. So that's what I would suggest to you. Also, let me just erase this for a minute and give you another example. Again, let's say nothing's working out. The spots that you've had in the past aren't yielding deer this year. Maybe somebody got a dog nearby and it just has pushed the deer out. That's happened to me. Maybe someone else moved in and now someone else is hunting your hot spots. That's happened to me. And so it's like, now what do I do? Okay, now you got to push yourself and find something new, and you haven't had it. The season's already going on. You don't have time to, pre-scout because the season's already going on. Let's just, again, Like for me, I have a lot of public land. So you can either pick, farms or private property to try and go knock on the door. Again, that Onyx map thing is nice. Just mention it because I've been playing with it lately. I never used it before, and it tells you the property owner's name. So it gives you a little, okay, I got a little insight here. I can go and try to talk to those people, or maybe somebody knows them or I know them. Like Steve Vaughn, he's one of the guys on the Map Reading Challenge. When he saw who owned the one property he was interested in hunting, he's like, oh, I'm going to go talk to them because I've always wanted to hunt that stuff. So he got a little insight there, and that helped him out. But you can pick out some private properties and go asking them, and then look at their property, or just pick some public land and just pick a section. You don't have to go crazy. Like, what is a section that I can hunt that maybe not everybody else is getting to? And what I tend to look for is, let's say this is a piece of public ground, and there's a road that goes through it, and there's a parking area here and a parking area here. Now, there are a lot of places I know, like when I talk to Andrew Penzie in Long Island, there's designated parking areas, and only one person's allowed to park there. And if somebody's there, you can't hunt there. That's like their spot for the day. It's not like that out in rural Pennsylvania or a lot of the areas that I hunt. Where I hunt, there's so much land and it's so rural. It's like if you can find a place to pull your car off safely, you can park there. And so what I typically like to do is I start by looking at the map. So this is sort of like your own little map reading challenge. You're like, okay, my spots aren't working out. Maybe I got a chunk of public land I can get at. How do I do this? It's mid-season. What do I do? So I like to look at, is there areas that there's designated parking, or if you click on the aerial view, sometimes you can see like cleared out areas for pulling off. Well, let's say this is all of our public land. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look in here. Is there anywhere I can sneak my car off the road? Which is out of everything here, this puts me the farthest away from the parking areas. Which means if anybody wants to hunt this bubble here, they're going to have more walking to do. I mean, it's going to be this bubble or, these outlying areas, those are going to be the harder parts to get to. And it's not always distance that makes it the harder part to get to, but, there could be, and I don't have, let's see, my blue marker dried out, so I'm going to use red. But let's say there's a really big stream that cuts through here. It might be, or whatever, it might be so cut out. Like if you're out in like the Midwest, these stream beds get so cut out, you sometimes can't cross them. I mean, it could be a 12-foot drop off. It's not that way on the east because we have such a rocky under the soil, so rocky it doesn't get eroded out that way. But if you have a stream, this back here is going to be super hard to get to. Maybe there's private land over here, and again, like you can try to talk to the landowner. Hey, can I park here and access the back? That's another thing I've done and very successful in New York. Is do that. So, but anyway, look at this. What is the hardest parts to get to from the parking area? Let me just take the stream back out for a second, just to give you what I'm saying. So, this bubble in the middle, they're going to have to walk. Let's say this is 2 miles, so they're going to have to walk almost, let's say, a mile to get to that middle spot in there. Well, this is a good bubble, because not as many people are going to walk all the way to there if they can find good stuff here or here or here or here. And that's where everybody's hunting. Well, I want to find somewhere else. So again, getting full circle here, I'm looking for places I can pull the car off that, if it's allowed, that not a lot of people are going to think that. Well, there's a lot of people who are just going to go to the parking area, get out and start walking around looking for deer sign. So this is where I'm going to start. Now, let's say... what I would suggest, if this is all all new, is let's say you only have Saturday to hunt. That's it. You've got 1 day a week, and it's Saturday. Go do a morning sit, even if there's other people at your normal spot. If you think you can get in there and get a chance at something, sit there. Do a morning sit. But then when it comes to late morning, get down and go to this spot and park and say, okay, here's my goal. I want to get in there, do a little bit of scouting, and sit up for the rest of the day, And what I would suggest is, try to use the wind in your favor. Let's just say we got a west wind again. We got wind coming like this. I always use wind as a determining factor how you're going to do this. So if this is the bubble you're going to concentrate on because you're hoping that it won't get as much hunting pressure and the wind's blowing this way, end up here, but start over here. So park, maybe even drive real slow down the road and see if there's any good like deer trails crossing the road. Let's say there's a good deer trail here and a good deer trail here and that's it. Well, maybe get in there, and it's never ideal to walk directly on a deer trail. A lot of times I'll try to still hunt alongside of a deer trail and to where I can see it and follow it. Maybe I'm only 5 yards away, but that 5 yards could be all I need to keep my scent away from the actual deer trail. If a deer comes through there hours later and they stay on the trail, they might not smell where I walked or anything like that. So I try to stay off of the deer trail if I can. If it's too thick, and I'm just going to say, you know what? It's not ideal, but I guess I'm going to have to walk on the deer trail today. But I don't. If you can avoid it, avoid it. So then get in there, do a still hunt. And again, keep in mind that the still hunting is scouting at the same time, but be ready. Be ready for a deer to jump up and for you to get a shot. Or if you're quiet enough and slow enough, the deer just might be out milling around and you might see them before they see you, and boom, you got a shot. So, in fact, Aaron Jones from the Map Reading Challenge retweeted Do-It-Yourself Sportsman Garrett. He got a mule deer out in Colorado, and I just watched this hunt. Congratulations, Garrett. I don't know if he watches these live feeds, but if you do, congratulations. And it was pretty neat. I kind of felt like it was God's providence. He just set up his camera to get a little B-roll footage of walking under this tree. And as he was doing that, he looked over and there was a buck, a mule deer. So he ended up getting a shot at it, and you can kind of almost see it on the camera a little bit. So I kind of viewed it as like, that was pretty providential. That was pretty cool. So congratulations. But that's the thing. When you're still hunting, and I mean, if you're scouting while still hunting, you're ready because you could get a shot at any time. And if you don't get a shot, I just view it as an opportunity to gain more information with the scouting. So kind of do this, and then work your way around. Now, if it's a new area to you, I would suggest trying to, rather than end up back here your first time in and then have a long way to go to get out in the dark, I discourage that. If you find some good sign during the scout, okay, put that in your GPS or your phone or whatever program you're using and say, okay, maybe, if this is a good morning spot, looking at this, maybe next time I get a chance to hunt, I'll get in here before daylight, maybe bring a reflector tack, stick one in the tree you want to get in to help you when you get close. Even with the GPS, a lot of times the GPS will get you close, but it's like, oh man, where was that tree? And stick one reflector tack right near there or in that tree, and that'll help you. Okay, there it is. In the dark. Get set up. Maybe you're ready. That's your next Saturday morning sit, maybe. But then come over here and set up to where you're not as far from your parking area, if it's a new area, that you can get back to your car a little bit easier, at nighttime. So those are just some suggestions on how to deal with, keeping that balance in life and, scouting during the season. Don't be afraid to do a little scouting trip when you get down from a morning sit. So I'm going to now take questions. If you have questions, go ahead and start posting them up. I'm going to go back over to the computer here and field those questions and see what we got. I'll take my camera arm, get me swung over here, and point this down a little bit. So let's see if we have any questions at all here. All right, okay, Tim, thank you for all the question marks. I appreciate that. Hey, Sean, great video tonight. Well, I appreciate you saying that because I wasn't sure if people were going to enjoy that or not. What is your take on UV brighteners in clothes, camo, spooking deer, and turkey, and are UV blockers worth it to use? Tim, actually, after I turned off everything last week, I saw your question, so thank you for bringing it back. And I'm sorry I didn't get it last week. To be honest with you, maybe turkey are sensitive with the eyesight, but I've never had any issues with deer and the UV thing. I mean, this is just me, but I've kind of viewed it as, people are trying to sell products, and if that's something that helps sell the product, then they're going to focus on that. But honestly, I've never had any issues with deer due to some kind of a UV issue. Never. you know. And maybe there's people who have, but I don't really, for deer, I don't really feel like they are sensitive to it, or that it's an issue. And of course, I hunt in a tree stand a lot too. If you're on the ground, I don't know. Like, I don't have a valid way of testing it, you know. And so, based on what they show on these commercials and other things, like, it's like, whatever. But I have just never had an issue, whether I was walking in the dusk, or, you know, right at dawn, or in my tree stand. I've never had an issue. So personally, I don't feel like they're necessary. I'm not worried about putting them on my clothes or not putting them on my clothes. That's just me. I don't think it's a huge thing. There might be people that go, oh, you gotta have it, but I'm not one of those people. Okay, so looks like we've got more questions here, and the thing is scrolling. Let me make sure to see if make sure I'm not missing any. Okay. Good thing about being retired, you can hunt every day of the season. All right, Jack. Okay, here's a question. For morning sits, how long before dark should I get to my tree? That really all depends on the deer movement in your area. So, for example, if I want to hunt behind my house, the deer move through there before daylight. I mean, the first deer that are going through there are before daylight. And if they spook and snort, all the other deer that would have came are going a different way. So I literally would be in my tree stand, set to go, sitting still by 4 in the morning when I was hunting out back here for a morning sit. And I'm talking about when it gets daylight at almost 7, because the first deer are moving through right after, 4:30 and on. They were moving through, and if you didn't beat them there, you would ruin the entire morning. So that was out back. When I was on the Maryland Map Breeding Challenge, I did a morning sit last year in Maryland, and I got down and I walked through an area, and I came upon some deer at 11 in the morning. And then this year, one of the guys that was on the Maryland group, I said, hey, I checked out this spot last year, and the deer were moving through there at 11. If you want to go try it, here's how to get there. So he went there, and at 11 o'clock, the deer, he wasn't ready for it. I guess, I don't know if what he was doing, but the deer stepped out at 11, and I think he ended up spooking it. My point, though, is that particular area, the deer, by habit, may just mingle through there around late morning. So for a morning sit, you could be getting to the stand at 9:30 with plenty of time before the deer move through there. If you're going behind my house, you got to be there by 4:30 in the morning. So you just have to figure out what time of day are the deer moving in the area that you want to hunt. Whether that's with trail cameras or years of experience. Like if you're going in and the deer are snorting and blowing out, and then you're not seeing anything the rest of the sit, well, maybe you got to try getting in there earlier and see if that makes a difference. Okay. Best terrain to hunt the rut. Johnny, I think that, for rut hunts, flatter areas are better. Now, I live, again, on a mountain, and where I tend to see the rutting sign, scrapes and rubs, is on your flatter areas. So, on a ridge top, where the hill crests and goes down the other side, a lot of times I'll find rubs and scrapes on ridge tops because it's a lot flatter than the sides of the hillsides. Now, where I live, it's very steep hillsides, and you're going to see a lot of that in the Appalachian line going down, even through Virginia and on down. You'll see some steep hillsides. So when I can find benches, so if a hillside's coming down and then there's a area that flattens out a little bit and then goes down again, those bench areas flatten out, because you got to think deer have to breed. And it's going to be easier for a buck to breed a doe on a flattened out area than on a really steep hillside. So I look for flattened out areas and terrain during the rut. Okay. Sean, have you ever had a deer that you shot that ran onto private land and you didn't have permission to access? What did you do? I've never had that issue. The closest I've had is when I used to guide out in Illinois. Sometimes we would have a hunter shoot a deer that would run over onto someone else's property or come onto ours. Typically what we would do in those scenarios is wait until the hunt is over. You don't want to go walking out there You know, if someone's hunting that land, you don't want to go walking out there without permission for one, but also when it's still prime hunting time. And that's what I was just reading. Someone else said, don't be the person who's tromping through the woods at prime hunting time. So you don't want to be walking out there looking for your deer and getting somebody all upset. So wait till the hunt's over. You know, if it's nighttime, wait till dark. If it's in the morning, wait till, you know, midday, like noon. And, you know, if it's the rut, you might have a little more difficulty, but then go to the landowner. Just say, hey, listen, I was over there. I hit a deer. It ran onto your property. Do you mind if I go get it? Some states have regulations that allow for people to be allowed to go and get that deer. Other states do not. You know, you have to have permission to go on someone's property regardless. And if you don't have permission, then basically that person's choice could waste the deer, and that's out of your hands. But but definitely go and ask permission if I'm running out of time here. Let's see. Sean, what's your thoughts on the hex suit? I don't know. I mean, I haven't really researched them too heavily, and so I'm not really sure. You know, I'd have to look into it a little bit more. I'm not sure about that one. That's all I can really say. I'm just about out of time, so let's see if I can get to one more question here. I see, I'm scrolling down. There's quite a bit of questions here. I just lost my spot. How high do you hunt in your stand? I like to be at least 18 feet off the ground. I'm usually in a climber, so 18 to 22 feet is the window I'm usually in. I don't usually go a whole lot higher than 22 feet, but I like to at least be 18. Let's see. This thing does not scroll very friendly. Okay, great live stream. Thank you, B&BH Outdoors. What's your favorite time to hunt, morning or evening? Thanks. I would say my favorite time to hunt is in the morning, because then you have all day and daylight to track and deal with the deer. I would say some of my best successes have been in the evening. This is an evening buck. 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 This is a morning buck. You know, morning buck, evening buck. So I've had a lot of evening bucks. I'm looking at my buck wall, my racks all over there. I've had a lot of good success in the evening, but really if I have my druthers, I love getting them in the morning. So I apologize. Listen, there's more questions and I'm out of time. I need to get off because they have another show coming up. So again, next week, 7 o'clock on Tuesday, and we're going to try that out. If you can make it, I would love that. If not, don't worry, it'll post afterwards. Thank you once again for tuning in. Map reading challenge stuff is going. I mean, the voting is coming soon, and the videos, the individual scout videos that we talked about earlier, they're going to start Monday. So line up, get ready to share your favorite guy's videos and help him run up his score to help him win the Bowtech and also his team to win the XP Air Raid Hang On Tree Stands. Thank you so much again for tuning in. God bless you all. All those who are still battling from the hurricanes, our prayers, I continue to pray for you, and I hope you're doing well and you're getting through it okay. God bless you all, and if I can get this to work, there it goes. Take care, everybody. God bless you.